What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today I'm just going to be continuing on with my monthly read series to kind of keep you guys up to date with what I've been reading over the course of the year, and also just to get up to date with more recent reads. So today I'm going to be covering the month of February, in which I did manage to hit my target of a original release volume a day over the course of the month, which is cool. Managed to do that for 2 months in a row now, or at that point. Spoiler alert, unfortunately for the month of March I didn't manage to hit that, but yeah, I'll just get straight into my reads. I started the month by reading the second half of Knights of Sidonia Volume 3, so I won't talk about that in this video just because I kind of covered my opinions about Knights of Sidonia in the previous video. So if you want to kind of get my thoughts on them, you can go and check that out in the January reads. So I will first get into the very first series that I read, and that is Hellsing. I won't spend too long on this specific series just because I read the entire 3 deluxe editions, the entire run, so I'll be planning to make like a series review on the series. But I read, like I said, the 3 deluxes, which cover the original 10 volume releases in Japanese. Dark Horse has previously printed those 10 volumes, but they decided to put them out again in these deluxe editions. And I have to say, overall, I enjoyed the series. There was definitely some gripes I had here and there about it, but for like kind of just a dark, fun seinen, this is definitely it. I would touch on the art quickly. This is kind of like one of my preferred art styles, definitely. The thicker black outlines on the characters, a lot of like emotion and expression in the way the artist draws faces, and overall just quite an enjoyable series. There was a big portion around the second volume which actually doesn't feature the main character in it, and I thought it actually did the series the world of good, because as enjoyable as Alucard is, I think that spending some time without like kind of an OP protagonist and showing how the rest of the characters kind of are dealing with the situation at hand managed to work, and then having him kind of come back and fight in these big battles towards the end, I thought was quite effective. Overall, I would say this third and final volume had my least favourite content over the series, but not by like a long shot. It's not something that totally threw me off the series and disappointed me in any way. But like I said, probably my least kind of favourite content. For the series, the back of this final one has all of the extras and all of the covers of the regular volumes as well. So don't worry about that if you're looking for them in the first couple ones like they do in the Berserks. Instead, they just kind of compiled every volume cover into the back of the Deluxe Volume 3. In terms of the actual editions themselves, if you've got any of the other Deluxes, the Blade of the Immortal or Berserk, it's very, very similar. It hasn't quite got that leathery feel that the Berserk ones have, but having them next to the shelf, next to the Berserk on the shelf is nice because they got like alternating black and red colour patterns. And I'm looking forward to Trigun being the next series getting this like deluxe treatment. Next up, we have a shonen that absolutely everyone was talking about towards the back end of last year due to the quality of its second season, and that is Jujutsu Kaisen. I read volume 17 to 21, which at the time of reading was all that's out in English. I think volume 22 has since come out, but I'm not really looking to pick up any more until the Culling Game arc is over. This covers about half of that, or as well as the Itadori Extermination arc. I will be flicking through the volumes and stuff, so if you want to avoid spoilers for post season 2 content, then just skip this section. I was actually pretty worried about how the series would kind of follow up on the quality of the Shibuya arc, just because it's one of like my favorite and one of the best shonen arcs that I've read, and this so far definitely hasn't hit the heights that that arc has, but it still definitely maintained that Jujutsu Kaisen quality. It doesn't feel like a step down. It's just not as kind of crazy as the Shibuya arc. But that being said, it definitely feels like we're going into kind of like a new era for Jujutsu Kaisen, and the new characters and villains they introduce, as well as just the concept of the Culling Games itself, makes for a really nice pairing. This guy, by far my favorite character introduced in the entire arc, and maybe one of my favorites in the series. And the way that our main characters kind of split up amongst the colonies makes for some super interesting fights. Having a whole volume focus on Yuta, another one of my favorite characters in the series, just going around his colony was just very cool to see. And there's a lot of action. The art during action scenes, like the rest of the series, is amazing. You get some like comic relief and comedic relief with a few of the characters as well. But it's just generally a good time. I didn't kind of pick this up and go, oh, it's really fallen off after Shibuya. Like I hear some people talking about like kind of recent arcs in that way. But this arc definitely holds steady and has some really cool fights that I can't wait to see animated. And then volume 21 here, which is the latest one. Kind of annoying because it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. But yeah, I've basically got nothing but good things to say about JJK. I recommend anyone who's just kind of waiting for season 3 and doesn't mind reading the manga, definitely pick this up and enjoy the Culling Games arc. I'm really excited to see how this arc concludes and how it builds in. I know that the mangaka has said that he probably by the end of this year the series will probably be done, so it kind of struck me as something that would be a bit longer lasting than that. It'll probably only hit 27 volumes, so I'm very curious to see how it wraps up. I hope it doesn't feel like rushed or anything. But yeah, that was JJK. Next up, we've actually got my only comic books that I read for the month of February, and that is The Last Ronin and The Last Ronin Lost Years. My brother actually picked these up for me for Christmas, something I've wanted to be reading for a while, and I got around to it in the month of February. It's kind of difficult to talk about this series without getting into spoilers and stuff, so again, if you want to skip this section, I'll just have timestamps in the description below when I'm talking about each individual series, so you can kind of just get around what you want to avoid spoilers for and whatnot. But if you don't know about The Last Ronin, this covers Michelangelo, who's the last turtle left alive from all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Shredder and Casey and April up until a certain point in the series. And it's kind of just his journey of kind of discovering who he's supposed to be without his family, and then kind of coming back into New York in the not so distant future and taking down the people responsible in a way for the death of his family. And I'm a sucker for Ninja Turtle stuff. I've been hearing good things about The Last Ronin for years, so I knew I was going to enjoy this, and it didn't disappoint. The way the narrative switches between the past and the deaths back into present time, I think just works super effectively. It's quite dialogue heavy, as you see here, but it all makes for some super interesting conversation. It's not just boring exposition. And as far as the villain goes, he gets the job done. He's not the greatest Ninja Turtle villain, but he works to service the series in his own way. And I also just like seeing the Ninja Turtle universe in a kind of futuristic setting, just kind of seeing how they expand upon things that exist in the present Ninja Turtle universe and futurifying them, if that's even a word. And the kind of final raid before the final fight was probably my favourite part of the entire run, but overall this 5 issues just does everything that you want a Ninja Turtle story to do. It's dark in a way that some of the stories, in a way that most Ninja Turtle stories aren't as well. It kind of adds that extra element. So yeah, if you like comic books, if you like Ninja Turtles, this is a definite pick up. I can't recommend it enough. And I'd also say that despite it being kind of like side story content, this makes for pretty essential reading. It covers a lot of the stuff that happens before the events of The Last Ronin, but also splits its story into stuff that's happening post it as well. So unfortunately, it'll be difficult to kind of read it in chronological order just because you'll be getting spoilers for the end of The Last Ronin. But if you do enjoy The Last Ronin, I definitely recommend this because it gives you more of an idea of kind of the turmoil that Mikey went through after the years of the deaths of his brothers. So yeah, I'd say while not as good, it definitely kind of holds its own as well. It's not like just a cheap thrown in their side story. And while developing The Last Ronin, it also sets up a sequel as well, which I believe has just got its first few issues or first issue coming soon. So I very much look forward to that. And overall, The Last Ronin, an absolute banger. Then getting towards the end of the month, I decided to read the first 3 Gantz Omnis. These are all of Gantz that I own. I thought, why not get into this kind of dark, seinen action series? I will definitely put a warning now. There's going to be a lot of nudity when I'm flicking through these pages. For some reason, every single title page that the guy does is just a naked chick. No idea why. It actually does kind of get annoying. You're just kind of flicking through a lot of action and a lot of like this heartfelt scenes and emotion, and then it's just like a naked lady. So I don't know why it has to be every single title page. It's actually quite annoying at times. And this series is definitely heavy on the fan service. I'm not saying that you can't do like sexual things as part of your plot and to service the plot, but I think that people that argue that this is a case for that, I just disagree. I think that it is just straight up fan service, and can take away at times from what is a super interesting concept and plot and characters. I understand it works a bit with the main character with the way he is, but sometimes it just feels a little bit over the top. And then the other thing I'll talk about before actually flicking through the volumes is the omnibus quality of these. They're definitely better than the Viz 3-in ones, but are very similar to the Kodansha ones, where the paper quality is good and the volumes are thick. You don't have a lot of page bleeding, if any, but bear in mind that as you read through it, you are likely to get a very slight bit of spine kind of bending here. This is kind of the only cheap and easy way to collect Gantz nowadays, so you don't really have much of an option, unlike with series like Fire Force and Seven Deadly Sins where you can get the individual volumes. But this is also the cheaper way, and if you don't mind a little bit of spine bending, then this is probably the best way to collect them, especially because it covers the most content. The art, I think, is super good. It's very hyper realistic. I literally picked one title page where it's just a regular art, so now I just look stupid. But yeah, the art, and it's good. I like the character designs. The faces are a bit strange. I don't know if that's just me, but in terms of the actual concept and stuff, it's pretty unique. So I did enjoy kind of going through it, and there was a couple of shocks, especially during the second volume, with characters that I kind of expected to be big mainstays, not exactly lasting the longest. The main character isn't the most likable, but I actually think that works in service of the plot. I think that seeing his development and growth, even over just the course of these 9 volumes, was effective. I think that it did its job, and I'm interested to kind of see where the series goes, especially with the kind of new characters they introduce during the 3rd volume. And the actual monster designs and stuff, they're quite creepy. They're always unique, very different ones, very different from the last. And I mostly have just good things to say about Gantz, but be prepared that it's very gory, very fan servicey, and while it has a slightly deeper plot, it is just a lot of action as well. So, you know, if that's not really what you're looking for, then this probably isn't a series for you. But there's definitely a market for like darker shonen or seinen, fans who just kind of want to turn their brain off. These are really quick to get through. You get through one of these in probably an hour and a half, depending on how quick you are reading. So you just buy the whole series. You can probably read it in a weekend. And if you enjoy it, then it's all the more power to you. I have mixed feelings about certain things in the series, but overall, I'm very excited to kind of pick up the rest of the volumes and give these 3 the once over and go through the entire series and talk about my further thoughts on it. But I think this might be probably the more controversial series I talk about in this video, because I know a lot of people really, really love Gantz. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Shout out to my brother again for the very last 2 reads of the month. He picked them up from a pre-owned comic and manga store. So in terms of like condition and quality, they're not the best, but they are kind of harder series to pick up. So I was just grateful that he got them for me, and I just managed to experience the kind of first openings of these series. So I got the Resident Evil, the Mahwa Desire, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Toriko Volume 1. Of the 2 series, Resident Evil is definitely harder to find. You see the 5 volume series going for maybe £500-600 here in the UK, so it's not the easiest series to pick up. But I'm a massive Resi fan, so this was definitely needed this. I read this and it's fine. I mean, it does have a kind of a Resi vibe about it, but very manga-ified. The art itself is quite good, and the premise is interesting. I think that seeing these zombies in a school setting will be fun. But overall, it's nothing special and definitely not worth the money for the 5 volume run. Published by Viz in the signature line. It's got the older logos. But yeah, like if you're a massive fan of Resi and you managed to find these cheap or anything, like this was I think maybe £3-4 my brother paid for it. So if you manage to find them at that sort of price and you're a big Resi fan, then yeah, definitely. Like if I find the rest of the series at that price, it will be a definite pickup. But at the ridiculous prices they're asking for the quality of the series, I wouldn't say so. This one surprised me. I know a lot of people love Toriko, but I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. It's actually kind of frustrating that the series is hard to pick up because I'd love to continue more of it. It just, for a shonen, it just feels very unique. I really love the world that it sets up in this first volume, and can only imagine it getting bigger over the 40 or so volumes that the series is. And while it does have its very shonen feel to it, it also just feels like it's setting up its own unique thing. And I know that in Japan it's very big. It had crossovers with Dragon Ball and other series. I think maybe One Piece. So it's definitely quite big over there. And I'm hoping that means that at some point we'll get some sort of reprints of it, but I doubt it considering the age of the series. On the top here it says St. Louis Public Library, so you know it's a pre-owned volume, and it's slightly yellow, but I mean, yellowing manga for me isn't a big deal, so yeah. And good art as well. Basically, recommend Toriko as well. I can't really recommend them in too good a conscience, just because if you do end up enjoying and getting into the series, you're going to be putting down a lot of money to get through them. So yeah, but good reads nonetheless. One other thing I wanted to talk about coming out in February, not manga related, but my most anticipated game of the year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, actually came out towards the end of February. And I just want to talk about how much fun I'm having on the game and how amazing it is. So if you guys were looking forward to that, let me know if you're playing it down below. Yeah, really fun game. But yeah, that's pretty much it for February's reads. A little bit shorter than the other videos, so just let me know if I'm going through them too quickly, if you want me to spend more time on a series, less time. I'm not too sure really the perfect way to do it. So yeah, just let me know any kind of critiques or anything you want done kind of down in the comments, and hopefully you guys have a great day. Peace.